It's NFL Week 16, and this is your Blue Rush preview show. I'm Brandon London, and the Giants are heading down to the A to try and snap a 9-game losing streak on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. There's not much to talk about in terms of X and O's when it comes to this game, so we're going to be covering all the major storylines heading into Sunday. So let's bring in our Blue Rush original and our New York Post Giants beat writer, Paul Schwartz. Paul, did you ever think that a 2-12 team would get so much national attention? I mean, it's never a dull day in Giants land, my man. How you doing today?
I'm good. First of all, hoodie and a sport jacket, okay? I mean, I wear hoodies more often than I wear sport jackets. I do not wear them together. Please give me the fashion reasoning behind that to see if I need to include this into my attire.
Well, I don't have the fashion budget of a Cordell Flott, Brian Burns, nor Dexter Lawrence, so this is what we call balling on a budget.
It looks good. It looks good. I mean, to me, I would think that the hoodie would be too bulky under the sport jacket. But so is it a thinner hoodie or is it a thicker sport jacket? Give me a little intel there.
It's a thinner hoodie, and you could wear it inside a Mercedes-Benz stadium on Sunday if you want to borrow it since you're going down to the game. And make sure you get some lemon pepper wings down there as well. Atlanta's got great lemon pepper wings.
But no Chick-fil-A. Can't have Chick-fil-A on Sunday in Atlanta, right? No Chick-fil-A.
They sell it at the stadium on Sundays. You'll be able to get it
on Sundays? No, Sunday.
Okay.
Chick-fil-A, the whole franchise is closed on Sundays.
All right.
Yeah, even in Atlanta. Yeah. Look, my last flight of the year for the Giants. I'll be going to the Super Bowl. In several weeks in New Orleans. That's the cover. Certainly not the Giants. We'll see who's there. Maybe in a later podcast we'll try to figure out who's going to be there. For now, though, what makes it interesting. I know you want to get into it. What makes it interesting more than anything right now is the quarterback change in Atlanta.
Michael Penix has been named the starter. Kirk Cousins, who's a quarterback, a lot of people want it. A lot of people has looked at as that bridge gap or that placeholder quarterback for next year with the Giants benched. Michael Penix now has a chance to go up against the Giants defense that's not at full strength. I look at this game, Paul, since all eyes are on Joe Schoen, Brian Daboll. Do you fire them? Do you retain them? This is a game or another game where Brian Daboll's faced with another can't. The Giants can't be shown up by a rookie quarterback who hasn't played the entire year and is making his first start. What do you think about Michael Penix going up against this Giants defense?
Well, it's a real unknown. It's really interesting. Look, this is not changing quarterbacks at the end of a bad season. The Falcons are 7-7. They are right smack dab in the middle of the NFC playoff race. You know what I mean? They are a wild card team. And so this is a huge move. It can backfire. It can be really good. The Falcons have lost 4 straight games. Kirk Cousins had 1 touchdown and 8 or 9 interceptions. They managed to win a game last week, not in impressive fashion, and the move was made, which was it's a very bold move. I think it adds a lot of juice and spice, and you talk about national eyes being on the Giants. There'll be a lot of national attention on this game. He's the last of the rookies drafted in the first round to start. All the other guys did. The guys at the top, Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jane Daniels and Bo Nix. Those guys have all started games, and now we have Penix. And the interesting thing here is, Brandon, is that Penix was on the board, right? He was on the board at number 6. I didn't think the Giants were going to take him. They did not. They took Malik Nabers. We'll talk about him a little later on. He's a tremendous rookie receiver right now. There's no reason to think he's not going to be a really, really, really good player for the Giants. He already has been as a rookie in shuffling through quarterbacks and terrible offense and all the other stuff. Meanwhile, Penix has not played. Meanwhile, Bo Nix has started every game for the Broncos, and they're 9-5 and in the playoffs right now. Sean Payton did a great job with him. So, it's interesting because what you said about Brian Daboll, he must not lose this game against a rookie quarterback. It's not just Brian Daboll. It's also the Giants front office, Joe Schoen. Like I said, I'm not going to be a phony here. At the time, I didn't say the Giants should take Michael Penix. I knew they had questions about Penix physical, the way he had an incredible amount of injuries at Indiana. I talked to Micah McFadden. Micah McFadden was a teammate of Michael Penix for 4 years at Indiana. And Micah McFadden said all 4 years he never finished the season because of injuries. 2 ACL, another knee, and a shoulder. I mean, he is his medical chart is off the charts, really. He was healthy for 2 years at Washington, led him to a national championship game. So here he is. It'll be fascinating to see. Lefty slinger, throws a great deep ball. Rome Odunze was a first-round pick, probably because Michael Penix can get him the ball. And we'll see. It's open season on the Giants, certainly in a bad season. Understandably so at 2-12. So if Penix lights it up, more fuel to the fire.
More fuel to the fire for Shane Bowen. But I guess also Joe Shane, because who would you say, which GM would you say is facing more pressure in terms of how they've handled their quarterback situation? Falcons GM Terry Fontenot or Joe Shane? I mean, Joe Shane with the Daniel Jones and Drew Lock situation, or Fontenot with giving Kirk Cousins, 38, 39-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles, $100 million, and then drafting Michael Penix Jr. in the 6th round?
I think Cousins is 36, right? So let's not.
Okay.
I think he's 36. Look, yes, I mean that's why everyone was shocked that the Falcons took him at 8, because Kirk Cousins was guaranteed $90 million, right? $90 million. So, and now you're drafting a quarterback who you can't play him right away because you just gave Kirk Cousins all that money. Yeah. So they are in quarterback hell right now. Now Raheem Morris, they said it's not like Penix is in and that's it. I guess if he's a total washout and is terrible, they could go back to Cousins. But anyone watching the Falcons were a surprising team and then a disappointing team. Like I said, they were leading their division, then they lost 4 straight. So Cousins kind of looks shot to me. These last 4 games. Last 5 games, really. And so it's a bold move. I think right now still, the Falcons GM for signing Kirk Cousins and then drafting a quarterback. So you're literally taking a player at number 8 who you're saying we can't get him on the field for most of the season. He cannot be an impact player for us at number 8 as a rookie because we have a quarterback ahead of him. That's rough stuff. Now, if Penix plays well and he's their starting quarterback next year and away we go with Penix and the Falcons, then all is forgiven because the main thing is to find the quarterback. But then they'll have a lot of cap issues with Kirk Cousins. Now, you can get Kirk Cousins next year. If you want to trade for him next year, you can get him for like $27 million. That is bargain basement money for a starting quarterback. The thing is, do you want him? Do you think he's shot? He was a heck of a player with the Vikings, but a lot goes into this. Yeah.
17 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions in the first 9 games for Cousins. And like you said, 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions in his last 5 games. So the bench was definitely warranted, or him being benched was definitely warranted. I got a lot of friends in Atlanta. My mom lives in Atlanta. She'd been calling for him to been benched for a long time ago, but she still thinks Matt Ryan is like Brett Favre. He's like football Jesus out there, but my mom loves Matt Ryan. I don't know why. So we can kind of switch up, and when it comes to talking about quarterbacks, because Drew Lock is back at quarterback for the Giants. I think we kind of all saw that coming. Malik Nabers has another week, another QB1, kind of the same QB1, but he's getting another shot at it. If Malik Nabers gets his 1,000 yards this season with 4 quarterbacks, does that automatically put him in that elite tier of wide receivers?
In the Giants or in the league? Which one?
In the league. In the league. Let's go league.
I don't think he's there yet. I really don't. You know what I mean? And I just don't. I mean, he's not Jamar Chase. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's just not those guys yet. Could he become them? Sure, he could become them. I mean, he's doing great things for a Giants rookie receiver, as you mentioned. 4 quarterbacks have thrown him the ball. First time since 1992 that's happened with the Giants team. Dysfunctional offense, bad offense. Barely able to get first downs. Not a lot of explosive plays. Nabers had a terrific year. What does he have? 90 catches. So 1 more, and he matches Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley for the most catches as a rookie in franchise history, barring anything crazy. Heaven forbid with an injury. He will probably have 100 catches, and he will have that record all to himself. Tremendous, right? The yardage is not where they want it to be. That's a function of the offense, not a function of him not being able to make plays down the field. 4 touchdowns, not great. Again, function of the offense, not about his ability to get in the end zone, I don't think. Look, Nabers is on his way, and I think he's handled things well. This will be interesting on a fast track inside. Drew Lock is going to be able to get the ball to, this is follow the bouncing ball, the quarterback here, right, Brandon? And quite frankly, I don't think fans care that much about who the quarterback is. A lot of them talking about, Boyle last week. Boy, at least he threw the ball down the field. It's true. He did just throw the ball down the field and had some success with it. We'll see if Locke can do it. It is frustrating because you'd like to see one of these guys get on a little bit of any kind of a momentum situation here. But, Locke was playing, and then he hurt his heel. Then he had to come out, and then DeVito came in. Then DeVito, has a concussion. Then he had to leave. Now DeVito's okay. They're going to go back with Locke. I think if you just said to me, look, you must rate the quarterbacks on the roster right now, I think I would probably want Locke to start. I think he's better equipped than Boyle and DeVito to win a game. Look, you know what this has shown since Daniel Jones got benched, Brandon, is that Daniel Jones was clearly the best quarterback on this roster. I mean, I don't think anyone doubts that. He had to be benched, I think. At 2-10 after that terrible game in Munich, had to be benched. But you were sending to the bench and then ultimately releasing a guy who was better than the guys that were backing him up.
Drew Lock definitely should be QB1 going in to this game. And I really thought Tommy DeVito was going to build off of what he did last year. And it was just, it's like he played the same way Daniel Jones played. He played not to mess up, wouldn't take shots, wouldn't, try and make that big throw down the field to get that energy going. And Tommy DeVito is one of those players where you feed off energy. You feed off of a big play. You can make a bad play, but I thought with that moxie that he showed his rookie year, that he would be able to kind of overcome an early mistake and then still show enough moxie to get through a game down the field and make a throw or two. I think it's because he thought too much football, Paul. Remember how I said he should still do the signings. He should still go out and put himself out there, because when you got people showing you love, that breeds a little confidence in you a little bit. So that's just my personal opinion. But hopefully Malik Nabers can get this 99 yards. He's 99 yards away from 1,000 yards. That'll be great for him. We just don't want him to see or to be the Giants' Garrett Wilson. A very talented wide receiver that just could never get a quarterback and could get frustrated later on down the road. But one thing that's helping Joe Shane when it comes to stay of execution is some of the rookies in this class. He got the Malik Nabers pick right. Tyrone Tracy Jr., though, you text the group chat, has he done enough to be RB1 going into the spring next season? What do you think?
Well, look, Tracy and Nabers are both most likely to get 1,000 yards from scrimmage, right? I mean, Nabers is going to get, we said he's very close. Tracy's very close too, between his catches and his rushing yards. And that would only be the third time in history that two rookie teammates surpassed 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Okay, now a quick quiz, okay? The 1960 Dallas Texans, Abner Haynes and Johnny Robinson were the first to do that, okay?
Yep.
Okay, Brandon, you ready? You ready for your NFL knowledge? The Dallas Texans became which NFL team?
It's too easy for me to say Cowboys. It's just too easy. They became the St. Louis Cardinals.
They became, and this is, I mean, I really did not 100% know this, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Yeah.
That's a hard one. It's a hard one. It is. And now this one's a little easier in your time zone period. 2006 Saints, you remember Reggie Bush. You certainly know Reggie Bush. And Marcus Colston. Colston. They both went over 1,000 yards as rookies. Both had terrific careers. Marcus Colston, little known fact, went to Hofstra on Long Island.
Yep.
Right, doesn't even have football anymore. So that begs the question, right? I mean, Nabers going over 1,000. and Tracy going over 1,000. Let's say they both get it. Is that a case of, because we know the offense is bad and the team is bad, is that a case of those NBA teams you see out there, Brandon, where the team is really bad, someone has to score 18 or 20 points a game, right? Someone has to. Because you have to average 105 points even if you're bad. So someone has to average 18 or 20 points a game. Now, are they 20-point-a-game scorer on a good team or just 20-point-a-game scorer because somebody has to score the point? So that's what I think Nabers is in a different category. He's a stud. Tracy, I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. You know, he was the backup. Devin Singletary had some okay games, you know, nothing special. And then he suffered an injury, missed 2 games with a strained groin. Tracy came in, runs for over 100 yards a couple of games. He's now the starter. You know, was the starter in, you know, one game he did not start because of his fumbling. They kind of, you know, said, okay, you're not going to start this game. You'll sit. But then he came in and had more carries than Singletary anyway. I talked to Devin Singletary about it a few weeks ago. He's, you know, I wouldn't say upset about it. He's not happy about it. You know, he's not happy that his body feels fresher in December now than at any time in his career because of the lack of use. He's under contract for next year. Tracy obviously is under contract for next year. I'm not ready to say I've seen enough. Tyrone Tracy's my starting running back next year. Just not ready to say it yet.
Yeah, I'm with you, Paul. Especially he's put the ball on the ground a little bit too much to be a clear-cut starter for next year, but I would give him the benefit of the doubt and make him RB1 going into the spring. You still got to compete, but at the same time, he's had 6 games with over 15 carries, 3 were for 100, 1 game with 20 or more carries, and that was against Pittsburgh where he went for $145 and he scored a touchdown. His last 100-yard game was the Panther game out in Munich, but since then, 42, 32, 45, and 31 rushing yards since that Panthers game. So is it wear and tear? Is the offense just that bad right now? Has the run blocking gotten worse? We don't know, but I think he's done enough to be the starter going into the spring, but I think they may bring someone in or draft someone to kind of compete with them because I think Eric Gray may be on his way out the door. I haven't even seen Eric Gray on the field in quite some time, not even on special teams. I don't remember seeing. And then Turbo Miller, what's he going to be going into next year? A little undersized, but could he kind of mature into a scat back or a utility back that they could use? But Tyrone Tracy, I'm not trying to like hate on him or anything. He's done enough. He's done enough to turn some heads. A lot of people are excited about him. They look at him as a core piece. But like you said, Izzy Mikal Bridges with the Nets being a 25-plus point a game starter, and now it's like, all right, where does he fit within the Knicks that has a bunch of stars on that team right now?
One thing about Tracy also to remember is it's his second full year as a running back.
Yep.
You know, so he was a running back last year at Purdue. He was a receiver before that at Iowa. You know, he's 24, 25 years old. He's an older rookie. He spent 6 years in college. So, you know, it's not surprising that maybe he's hitting a little bit of a rookie wall. I mean, he just doesn't have a lot of breadth of experience to lean on as a running back. It's all fairly new to him at this position.
Yeah, I love the kid. I think he's going to be great. And they haven't even used him the way that he can be used. Remember, Paul, I say this all the time. I tell everybody, he was lined up at receiver a bunch a couple of those days when he had that package where he and Motor Singletary were coming into the huddle, coming into the game together. So maybe that's something they can use next year. Hopefully they get to that. I would say, which player, Paul, would you say has the biggest bullseye on their back in terms of they need to show something these next 3 games?
Let's see. I think Evan Neal. You know, Evan Neal's one of the biggest guys on the team, so you put a bullseye on his back, it's going to be a big bullseye, right?
Not Tate Banks? Evan Neal over Tate Banks?
Yeah, Tate Banks is going to be on the team next year. You know what I mean? You know, he's a year, you know, younger. Tate Banks he's going into his 3rd year next year. Not big money, you know, as a first-round pick on a rookie deal. You know, I mean, Tate Banks will be on the team, and whether they try to get a cornerback to be CB1 and he's 2, you know, I think, I mean, I'd like to see Tate Banks get on the field. he's had a rib injury, and I'd like to see him get back on the field and maybe put something good on tape for the last game or two here. You know what I mean? I think he could come back this game. So, he needs to kind of go out on a positive note, because it's been a blah, negative, kind of an immature season for him in a lot of ways. But, is Evan Neal going to be back on the team? Are we sure about that? He's finishing up his third year. He's now starting. He's playing okay. Okay, I think that's the word for him. If he was some guy they just picked up off the street, you'd say he's doing okay.
Yeah.
As the number 7 pick in the draft in 2022, not so okay, right? I know a lot of people think they should move him inside after this season, move him inside to guard. I just don't look at him as a body type and say he's a guard. Look, and the Giants aren't idiots. I mean, I don't think that they probably have thought about this and heard, what, maybe we should move him inside to guard. It's hard to do during a season, maybe impossible to do during the season, but maybe in the offseason that's floated. So I think he's got a real bullseye on him because he's playing now, right? And can he salvage something? Can he stay on the field? He's had trouble staying on the field because if he can show that, he deserves a chance to come back and be in the running for the starting right tackle spot. I mean, that's what they wanted at the start of the year. And maybe Jermaine Illuminor, if he doesn't play right tackle, he plays guard. And now, it's a better unit. Illuminor, I think, was pretty good as a right tackle. But then he got hurt, and then, Andrew Thomas got hurt first, and, it screwed up everything. So we know all that already. The offensive line machinations have been difficult to stomach this season. Again, not as bad as last year, but, not great. So I think Evan Neal, look, if you draft a guy, number 7, right, they had Andrew Thomas, right? He's a fixture, but, he has to show he can stay on the field. He gets 2 major injuries, right? That's a big problem. But if you have Andrew Thomas and then you draft Evan Neal, the Giants thought to themselves, 8 to 10 years here, we should be good.
Yep.
We should be good.
Yep.
At least 5-6 years. You got a first round pick. You got 4 years and a fifth round option, right? So you say for the next 5 years, we should be good at the corners, and that is a hell of a foundation. Just didn't work out that way, and it's that's a big swing and miss. Looks like a miss now, certainly.
Yeah, I'm hoping Evan Neal doesn't become the next Eric Flowers when it comes to this organization. Remember, Eric Flowers was moved around from spot to spot. Beat writers were going after him. He had that dust up in the locker room that one day. And then he goes on and then looked like he had some sort of success with the Washington Commanders. And I think it was the Jacksonville Jaguars that brought him down. And I heard Troy Aikman giving him flowers on a broadcast one time about how he kind of turned his career around. But, yeah, I thought the same thing, that it would be Thomas on one end, Evan Neal on the other, and then you just sprinkle in some guys and just think JMS in the middle. You've got 2 first-round draft picks and a second-round draft pick right there on your offensive line. It's kind of the way the Cowboys kind of approached their offensive line those years, with Tyron Smith and all those first-rounders that they brought in. So that's that's why it's no meaningless games right now, Paul. Like, everybody is playing for something. You're either playing to get or to earn a bullseye on your back or to get one off of your back for these next 3 games. A guy that has earned a bullseye on his back, Micah McFadden. The kid keeps showing up. He just keeps getting better and better, and he's making, again, he's one of those late-round Joe Shane draft picks that's making Joe Shane look like, all right, he's got that eye to bring in some late round guys that could potentially become starters. You like McFadden, Paul?
I do. I think he's great to talk to in the locker room. He's got a great personality, he's smart, willing to think about questions and answer them thoughtfully. I think, well, we'll see. We'll see if he gets a second contract. That's the whole key with these guys. I think he has a captain type potential to him. I really do. He's not a great player. He's a good player. These are the guys, Brandon, you know this. You were in the league. 4th, 5th, 6th round that are essential to be not Pro Bowlers, not stars. They need to be productive players for at least 4 years that they're in your building. You know what I mean? If David Deal, a bunch of guys, Kevin Boss when he came in, he got
Ahmad Bradshaw.
Well, Bradshaw was 7. I mean,
seven,
that was
yep.
Yeah, that was tremendous. I mean, yes, no question about it. But just you need a collection of guys, who are undrafted or third day picks that are good players, not miracle workers, good players. Too many guys the Giants have drafted are not only not good players, they're not even in the league. You know what I mean? They hang around for a year or two and then they're out of the league. That's a problem. We look at the roster, right? We look at the depth chart up here, right? Who are the starters up here? But there's the guys on the bottom of the depth chart. It's important. Yeah. If a guy gets hurt, a guy can step in and be okay. Now, Micah McFadden as a running mate to Bobby Okereke played well last year. Tackles for losses. He had a kind of a nose for the ball, fumble. Forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, that kind of thing. This year he's leading the team in tackles, maybe by default because Tyler Nubin got hurt and is out for the season. And Bobby Okereke has not been seen for a while with a back injury. So somebody has to lead the team in tackles, right? I'm not under any illusion. You can go down all the teams that are bad teams or bad defenses. Somebody leads the league in tackles. Somebody leads the team in tackles with 100 or thereabouts. That doesn't mean they're all really good players. Where are the tackles? What's the quality of the tackles? I think McFadden is a solid player. I think he works hard. He has the green dot helmet now. He's making the calls. And, I'm not saying he's a difference maker. I'm saying it makes a difference when guys like him in the 5th round can come in and start and be your second inside linebacker or your second guard. You know what I mean? You can be guys who can play and you have faith in them and they are what they are, which is solid and steady. You can, that's how you build a roster. Now you hit on a few stars and you got cheap labor for 4 or 5 years who can do the job. I do like McFadden. Yes, I really do. He's, like I said, he's really good to talk to. And, there's potential there. There really is.
A great value player is what you're saying. Great value guy, because you look at that defense, the money goes to Dexter Lawrence. The money's going to go to Brian Burns. Who else and Bobby Okereke. But you got to be able to sprinkle in those other pieces that can play just as well, but for cheaper. It's almost like what Jason Pinnock was with Xavier McKinney. You complement the guy across from you. And when you're talking about a guy like Micah McFadden who just shows up every game, he and Brian Burns are future captains to me. I think Brian Burns should wear the C next year because he's another guy that has played injured. You haven't heard a peep for him. He hasn't been any sort of distraction. And maybe because he's used to going through something like this through his time in Carolina, but you haven't heard a distraction for him. All you hear from him when it comes to post-game speeches is getting better, accountability. How do we make this defense better? But Micah McFadden already has more tackles this year than what he had last year, and he was healthier last year. This year he sat the first game, the opening game, and then we have 3 games left. So he's a guy that just continues to get better. And you would have thought that there would have been some sort of drop-off in his production because Wink Martindale wasn't there, but he's getting better. So that shows you that he is a glue guy. He is a core piece going forward. Last thing, Paul, before we get your final thought. It's never we can't go a day in sports news without talking about Coach Prime. He was on Adam Pac-Man Jones's podcast, and he hinted that he's got some sort of inside information that the Giants are guaranteeing to pretty much draft his son Shedeur Sanders -- in the draft. Do you think that's Coach Prime going full LeVar Ball and hyping up and marketing his son, or do you really think that he's got something there and he's got some sort of inside information that Shedeur could be QB1, overall draft pick 1 for the Giants next season?
Well, he definitely could be. I mean, he has no inside information. He has. Believe me, I mean, he has information because his son is one of the best quarterbacks in his draft. He has no inside information as far as the Giants. Dion, we're going to pick your son. Don't say anything. They didn't do that. Look. You know how this works, right? They've seen all his games, Dion. Joe Shane and Brandon Brown, their collection of front office guys has been in Colorado. They've watched him. They've seen him. A lot of the football evaluation is done. There'll be the Shrine Bowl, there'll be the Senior Bowl, but a lot of the game stuff is done, right? Yeah. Then there's the interviews, then there's the combine, then there's the workouts, then there's the 30 visits, to get him in the building. They've been around him, but they're going to, investigate whoever it is, right? Is it Joe Shane and Brian Dable? Is it a new crew? We don't know that yet. But so that is not done yet. So the Giants do not have. Now they definitely have ideas. We like this guy over this guy. We like this guy over this guy. We're not sure about either of these guys. There's no question about that. But there's the board as far as saying, but it's incomplete right now. Now, what Dion said is, I know that my son's going number one, and I know that the Giants are not trading that pick if they finish number one. So put two and two together, and you say, okay, if the Giants will be the Giants are number one, they're going to take Shedeur. Maybe the Raiders, Tankathon says the Raiders have are in line to be number one. Who knows? I mean, with the Raiders, the Raiders are favored to win this week against Jacksonville. They're favored. Now, I don't know what that it means, but the Giants aren't favored. The Giants are going into Atlanta. I think they were underdogs by 10 points, and I think it dropped to 8.5 when news that Penix was starting, I'm not sure the line should have gone that way. I think maybe the line should have gone the other way to 12 instead of 10 with Penix starting. But he is an unknown. I get that. So as far as Deion Sanders and cameras and microphones and podcasts and interviews, you're not going to, that is, they want the mouth that roared, right? I mean, he knows where the cameras are. He knows how to make headlines. His son's a really good player. I think in other years, he would not be the number one pick. Last year, he would have been probably the fourth quarterback taken. Okay, so that's something for Giants fans to think about. Last year, he would not have gone over Caleb Williams. He would not have gone over Jaden Daniels. And eye of the beholder, he probably would not have gone over Drake May. So there's always number ones and number twos and number threes every year. That doesn't mean they're all created equal. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. I would be really surprised at this point in the game that if there's another quarterback that will be picked first or second. But it's just they're more projections. They might be guys who you might not want to start right away. They are experienced. They have played a lot of football, those guys. So we shall see. Dion has no inside information, but his information could prove to be correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's just every week we're hearing Shedeur. Obviously, he was here last week with the Heisman, with Travis Hunter. He's throwing the ball out in the street with Malik Nabers. Everybody's talking about it. He shows that he has a Giants football on the elevator. Everybody's talking about it. So right when you think, all right, they've gone back to Colorado, they're getting ready for their bowl game, boom, more Shedeur Sanders news comes out. So it's one of those things where you're wondering that if they're marketing, they're lobbying, he's forcing his way for Shedeur to be the first quarterback taken in this draft. But at the end of the day, like you say, we still got combines and stuff. But it would be. I know a lot of Giants fans that just want some sort of excitement when it comes to that QB1 position. You want wins for sure, but you want to be excited. People want to see the ball thrown down the field. They want to see that confidence.
Of course, it would be interesting if you sat down Shedeur and Dion in confidence and say, would you rather go to Vegas or New Jersey? You know what I mean? I mean, that's likely the one or two right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Doug, wasn't the Dion Sanders Shedeur show? I mean, that's made for Vegas too, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just a nondescript. It's not Jacksonville or Cleveland. Vegas is Vegas, right? Yeah. The team's not good. Guess what? The team in New York and New Jersey is not good either. Yeah. We know that. Why they got the number one pick. They earned it, whoever gets it. So, we heard Dion wants him to go to Vegas. You know what I mean? I mean, Dion wants him to go number one. There's cachet to go number one and a little more money to go number one than number two. It's a great honor to go number one. It's also a great privilege and a lot of pressure. So we shall see. But, it definitely could happen. You know what I mean? But here's one thing. We'll get into this maybe in the coming weeks. Right now, you kind of know how the draft boards are assembled, right? How do you think any draft board as prospects, the draft board is not by positions, it's by prospect. Do you think any draft board in the league will have Shedeur Sanders and or Cam Ward ahead of Travis Hunter on their draft board as far as NFL prospects go?
No, I think Travis Hunter is the number one prospect on that board. I want him to be a New York Giant next year. I'll do whatever they have to do. I want Travis Hunter over one of those quarterbacks, Paul.
You see now I don't. He's a cornerback. I get it. He's a receiver. He's a top 2 or 3 at both positions in college football. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. I get it. As an NFL prospect, he's a better prospect than those guys. I also am not naive to think that when you're at 1 or 2 and you need a quarterback,
got to take it. Got to take it.
So I don't think got to, but I think you need to you need to stand up and say, here is why we can't take one. Basically, like, we don't like any of these guys. If there's you go to a dance, right, and there's 2 women there you want to dance with, and it's like, I don't want to dance with any of them. It's like, okay, then you're not going to dance tonight. You know what I mean? At some point, there's got to be someone's got to dance, right? The Giants have to dance in this draft. So I'm not saying just take Travis Hunter. Okay, that's fine. Who is the quarterback going to be? The best way to get a franchise quarterback is still to draft one. It's also the most difficult thing because it's like a 50-50 proposition. So at the end of this evaluation, who's ever doing it, they have to look in the mirror and say, you know what? He's not as good as the top guys next year, and he may take last year. He may take a little bit more time, but here's the only question with the only question ever when you draft a quarterback: not is he going to be the MVP, not is he going to be like Eli and be here for a million years, not if he's going to be the Walter Payton Award winner. The only question you ask yourself with a quarterback is, can you close your eyes and envision him winning a Super Bowl for you?
Yeah.
If the answer is, you know what, I can see it, draft him. If you say, you know what, he's going to be really good, I just don't see it, can't draft him.
2 things. Go back to the dancing thing. Young B. London, I would have danced with both those women. Old B. London with the kid. I'm not even at the club. I'm at home watching Bluey or like Paw Patrol. On the flip side, what was the last thing you said, Paul? Dang, what was the last thing you just said? The analogy you just said?
About the dance and what about the quarterback having to make the Super Bowl or just?
Ask Bear fans right now with Caleb Williams and the Bears on the 8-game losing streak. Do you see Caleb Williams winning a Super Bowl? And then flip that, asking Giants fans, let's see you do get the number 1 pick and the number 1 quarterback, and he loses 8 straight games next year. Do you still feel confident about that pick? Do you even have the patience for that quarterback to
What was Peyton Manning's record as a rookie?
Was it 4 and something, I believe? It was horrible.
I think 2. I think he won 2 games. Eli came in, after 9 games, they benched Kurt Warner and said, okay, the Giants were 5-4 back in 1994. And they just said, you know what, we have to, what year was it? It was, And they just said, you know what, we got to go with Eli here. Eli was terrible. He lost like his first 7 or 8 starts. He was terrible. He had a 0.0. He had the Blutarski rating against the Ravens, 0.0, like a grade point average, right? You know what? It's not the rookie year. It's not. Can you win a Super Bowl for us as a rookie? It's like at some point in your development, like I wouldn't give up on Caleb Williams. No. I mean, I think if they drafted again, they would take one of the other 2 guys ahead of him. But you can't give up on these guys. But it's just, can you look at his skill set and say his maturity, his makeup, and say, you know what? I can see it. I can see it with good coaching and good supporting cast. He's got that it factor. That's what Ernie Corsi. He was watching Ole Miss. Eli was really good, but he wasn't winning the Heisman or winning 15 games. He looked at him and said, he's got it. He's got it, and I want it. He went out and got it.
Paul, we just talked about a 2-12 team for 40-something minutes there. That's how you make lemonade out of lemons or whatever, a wine spritzer out of lemons or whatever it is they can call that. So I want to thank everybody for watching the Blue Rush Preview Show. Make sure you guys are on the lookout for how to watch our Blue Rush post-game live stream. As soon as the game ends, make sure you guys jump on the stream. We love reading the comments. We respond to them, even the ones that aren't so nice. We got Giants-Falcons Sunday at 1 p.m. live from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We'll catch you guys next time on Blue Rush.